All right, a very good afternoon to everyone. The Second Region Child Protection Court Number 1, Newton County, is now in session. We have one matter on our docket this afternoon. We are proceeding by agreement and virtually, so pursuant to Texas Government Code 24.017 and 74.094. To that end, we are also live streaming on YouTube to maintain public access and open courts. With that, let me take announcements from each attorney. First, let me call for the parties. I believe everyone is here, or just about everyone. First, calling for the mother, Precious Gadsden. I believe I see Ms. Gadsden. All right, if ma'am, yes, if you will just announce.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. And what about Darren Gadsden?
I'm here.
All right, thank you, sir. And calling next for the intervenor, Melissa Jones. I believe
She's present with counsel, Your Honor.
Thank you all very much. And let me take announcements from counsel, beginning with Mr. Burt. Is the department ready?
I believe I see Jesslyn is on here. So yes, Your Honor, the department's ready.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Obeide, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor, we are ready.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. Crocker?
Let's try this again. Your Honor, my name is Glenn Crocker. I'm the attorney ad litem, newly appointed to 4 children, Mariana, Darian, Gracie, and Ella.
And are you ready, Mr. Crocker?
I am ready, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Ms. Bythewood?
Yes, sir. Attorney ad litem for Miracle, and I am ready.
All right. Thank you. And Ms. Hollier?
Bonnie Harrier, attorney for Aaliyah Gadsden, and I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Going forward, we'll use the children's initials. And with that, I believe we're here for child support and a permanency review before final order. So I believe you all were going to meet to see if there was some room for agreement as to child support. Anyone want to care to make that announcement?
I did not receive any income information from the parents. I can do the math very quickly. I just need the income information.
All right. Well, we can subsume that issue in the permanency review. So with that, anything else from anyone before we get started? We are on the record in CV 2315203 in the interest of the Gadsden children. All right, Mr. Burt, you may call your first. We'll get that person sworn in.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll call Miss Jesslyn.
All right, Ms. McMullins, if you'll raise your right hand, unmute, and we'll get you sworn in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes? All right, thank you. Mr. Burt, you may proceed.
If you would, please state your full name for the record.
Jesselyn McMullins.
And you're the caseworker. How long have you been on this case?
I've been on this case since May.
Okay, and first of all, how are the children doing right now?
The children are doing well. The older 2 are still attending their counseling. I'm waiting on their psychologicals to come back. The younger 4 are doing well. And there are no concerns for them.
So no concerns for the children at this present time.
Yeah.
What about the family plans? How has Precious done as far as the plan is concerned?
She completed her parenting through Padres. She completed her mental health assessment. She completed her psychological. She is currently doing another round of parenting with Kim Kilcrease, and so she's compliant with her service plan.
Has there been any recommendations, further recommendations based on any of the evaluations that she's had?
Her psychological recommended pharmaceutical, but she had her mental health assessment. I never received the assessment. I reached out to the Burt Center. They stated that the parents did not sign a release. So I reached out to the parents to see if they would sign that release so we can get the actual assessment. And they stated that they signed the assessment. So I'm not sure how we're going to go about getting the records for that.
Okay. All right. What about Darren? How has he done?
He completed his parenting through Padres. He's also doing another round of parenting through Kim Kilcrease. He completed his psychological. He completed a mental health evaluation. Same thing with him. I don't have the actual assessment back. And his psychological, I never received his second psychological that he did. I'm not sure if he didn't sign a release of information for that, but I have not received it. So I'm not sure if there were any further recommendations for that.
All right. What about, so as far as the detailed plan from the beginning, he's in compliance?
Yes.
And to date, we don't have knowledge of any further recommendations.
No.
How are the children doing with their counseling? Are they meeting their appointments and doing what they need to do?
Yes.
Have there been any recommendations made to your office for further counseling with the children?
As far as family counseling?
Yes.
Aaliyah and Miracle, their therapist says no, that is not in their best interest. The therapist for Mariana and Darren, they stated that if the goal is reunification, then for Mariana, it would be appropriate. But they stated for Darren, he's got his speech is very limited, so they don't think that he would be able to take anything from it.
Do they all share the same counselor, or do they go to separate counselors?
No, they go to separate counselors. So the older two do their counseling through the Garth House, and then the younger two use the same therapist.
Okay. So you talked about the goals. What are the goals at this moment?
The primary goal is relative adoption with the concurrent goal of relative conservatorship.
Is there anything that we need to address regarding the kids, medical, dental, anything of that nature?
Yeah, they are up to date on their medical and dental.
And where they're currently placed, is it continue to be safe and appropriate for these children?
And Ms. McMullins, you kind of broke up with your answer, so I did not hear your answer. If you'll repeat it, please.
Yes, it is safe and appropriate for the children.
Is there any indications or any desire for the department to change their placements at this time?
Not at this time. I did speak to Mariana and Darren's therapist to talk with them about what their desires are. It was brought to my attention by Mr. Elder and also Mrs. Jones that the children are having a really hard time when they have to leave for Miss Jones to go back to the elders' home. They're having a really hard time with it. They're wanting to stay there. Darren Jr. was crying last week because he wanted to go on Thursday instead of Friday. So the transition from the homes is really hard for the children.
Okay. But at this time, there's no push to change any of that at this current time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, as far as the counseling, the kids are continuing their counseling. And is there anything other that this court needs to be aware of regarding the children's placements? Anything that you can think of that the court needs to be made aware of at this time?
The only thing that I would say is last week I received a message from Dad. He said that he had been sending money to his dad, and so the paternal grandfather would send Miss Elder money from the parents, which I know is being addressed today, but they couldn't get the money sent via CashApp. So I went and picked the money up from the paternal grandfather and brought it to Mrs. Elder. So I know that he's been providing for the younger 4 children, but he hasn't provided for the older 2 children.
And as far as the review for today, are we asking anything of the court other than continued temporary management conservatorship? Are we asking for any changes, or what exactly is the department asking for today?
Continued placement, continue TMC, and then the family therapy and child support.
All right, I pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Obadiah.
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Mullins, right? McMullins. Thank you, and thanks for trying to get me up to date since I got on the case for all the documents you have sent. Prior to you becoming the caseworker, the department goal was reunification, right? That was your primary goal? Okay, so it would be safe to assume that you played a role to change it.
Correct.
Okay. Just for my record, since I wasn't there in June when it changed, what was the primary reason you changed it from reunification to relative adoption and relative conservatorship?
There were still concerns with how the visits were going. There was no lifestyle change as far as what they were learning in parenting when they would come to the visits, their interactions with the children. Also, the fact that there's been no responsibility taken for what happened to this child.
All right, so this incident started in, I believe, November or December of last year. Is that correct?
Correct.
So they are not taking responsibility from December, January, February, March, April, May, right?
Correct.
So the department goal was still reunification. So what changed?
It always starts with reunification. The goals won't change until the 5th month, which was when we had our PC and it changed.
I know. Just saying, the goals could have been anything. Could have been anything from day one. So for 5 months, it was reunification. I just want to know what happened in June and when you came in.
What I just said. So it was the concerns with the visits, responsibility not being taken for the injury to the child.
Okay. Lifestyle, you said there had been no change in lifestyle. Can you speak a language that I understand? Are you, like, lifestyle could be anything? Are they like gay?
In their visits. So what they were,
what do you
I'll object to characterization of lifestyle being gay. I don't know.
I'm still asking my question.
I'm objecting to that question.
Sustained.
So that's the reason, Ms. Mullins, I'm trying to get a clarification. But there's many interpretations to lifestyle. What do you mean by lifestyle?
So what they were learning in parenting and what they were bringing to the visits and their interactions with the children.
So did you attend the visits with them?
Yes, I attend every visit with them.
No, sorry. You said what they were learning with this in the visit and what they were bringing. So can you elaborate on that?
I'm not understanding what you're saying.
Okay, I'll go back. I'm a very simple human being. What do you mean by life? What do you understand by lifestyle?
I'm talking about what they learned in parenting and making the lifestyle change from the things they took from parenting to bring to their visits.
Cool.
As far as what they learned in parenting, are they making those changes with their children during these visits?
Okay. What did they learn from parenting that they have not brought to the visit? Can you give the judge or this court a specific example of something that they learned that they didn't do?
Well, I wasn't in parenting with them, so I can't say what they learned and what they didn't. But as far as their interactions with the children, it's getting better, but I say it's getting better. Last week's visit at the CASA office, the parents sat there and the older two played on their cell phones the whole entire visit, and the other two ran around. So they were not actually taking that time and bonding with these children. The children were doing whatever they wanted.
Okay. Well, what should they have done differently? I mean, they are being supervised by you, right? So they are already restricted. So what should they have done? Because we are still learning. We are still in this. We're coming back to court. So what did you expect them as parents who are being supervised to do with children who want to be on their phone?
Well, I would suggest not bringing a phone to the visit. And their therapist actually had this conversation with them too about not bringing cell phones to visits. And they still do. So they could be playing with the child with toys, coloring. There was a visit where they had brought stuff for the kids to do. They brought toys for the kids. So there could be more interaction with the children.
Okay. More interactions. Okay. And how often is a visit and how long is each one?
They are weekly for 2 hours.
Okay. In terms of bonding, do you think having more time with them will help out? In terms of having them bond with the children so that the children are not distracted?
Well, the children get very antsy. I mean, they get bored. Of course, they're kids. And so when we're in the CASA office, after 2 hours, that's a long time for them to be in the office. But they get tired. Their visits fall around their nap time, so they're missing their naps. They get very cranky. So I would say, 2 hours is good. I think any longer would be draining for the children.
Okay, just a question. So the visit falls around their nap time. What time is the visit?
Their visit is from 1 to 3. The children get picked up around 12, and they go to sleep about 11:30 at school. So,
okay, all the children, or just the younger ones?
The younger 3 take naps.
Okay. So to avoid the problem of day napping, could the department and the court order a different time so that they can actually have a meaningful visit, like in the afternoon?
Your clients choose their time.
Okay. So they could choose a different time.
Oh, yes.
How many days in advance would they require to give to you to make that happen?
I usually get their visits for a month at a time. They could be changed at any time. I just have to have at least a week heads up.
Okay. And you said you need the second psychological for dad. I just want to understand because I wasn't here for any of the psychological. I knew I sent you some stuff. So that second psychological you are missing, who conducted it, like which entity you need it from?
I would have to go back and look at his family plan.
Okay. No, you don't have to look now. I'm just, if you don't have it, that's okay. I just want to make sure I give you the information you require. But if I don't know whom, then I can advise my client. But you need the second psychological. In terms of psychological, other than the fact that you don't have a release, so if I get them to execute a release, anything else you need in terms of psychological?
No, I just need the psychological assessment back.
Okay, psychological assessment, so that you can see whether or not there's more recommendation and all that, right?
Correct.
Okay. So psychological for dad, is there any, other than the release for mom, is there any psychological, anything related to psychological that you need?
We have mom's psychological already.
Okay, I believe you said they recommended, okay, so, okay. But you need some release, right?
Yes, I had emailed you the release of information. That's usually what they sign, and it gives the service providers permission to provide their assessments to us.
All right. I'll look through the email again. I thought I signed whatever you sent to me that needed to get back to you, but I'll do that again. I thought it was just the new service plan that we signed, but I'll make sure I check my email. Okay. I mean, in terms of all the other things that CPS are worried about, like, stable housing, reliable transportation, mom and dad's ability to provide for the children. Which one of those does the department has concerns on regarding Precious Gassin and Darren Gassin ability to provide?
Not necessarily a concern. We've asked for like proof of income, so stable job and stable housing, but he still hasn't provided anything to me.
Okay, so like if I give you a deed with his name on it, would that suffice for stable housing? Okay, and then proof of income like pay stub, would that suffice for you? Okay, I don't want to make, I'm just taking up, I want to comply. Anything else? Do you need motor vehicle, proof of that they have motor vehicle? Okay. All right, just a minute, make sure. So just briefly on the parent visitation right now. So 2 hours a week may seem like a lot of time, but for children, because their attention span is like little. So, but how about changing it to a more frequent, for example, 2 to 3 visits a week, but at a shorter time so that the children can actually have meaningful relationship with their parent? Would that be very burdensome for you and the department or not?
It's just hard with a full caseload to manage multiple visits in 1 week for one case.
Okay.
But I mean, if that was ordered, we would have to do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm saying it, right, because based on your own testimony, because I mean, sometimes the court is there to address problems. So if 2 hours is too much for them, because you say causing to their nap time and also they're distracted, which is understandable for younger children, but the court does have the power to also say, okay, let's make it more frequent for shorter time, let's say an hour or 30, 45 minutes, but they still get that quality of time. I'm just asking so that you can give the court information. Like if the judge were to if the judge was to order it, I'm not trying to make the judge order something you can do, right? Because you have other cases, but what accommodations, if any, would you need to make it happen? Like 2 hours, two visits a week.
And if they were two visits for 1 hour, that would be fine.
All right. I'll talk to my client eventually, but I just want to make sure that as for you, right, we're giving you what you need. And then I would talk to my client regarding proof of income and all those things. And then you testify regarding something that I don't know if you said counselors or therapists said. I just didn't get that testimony right. So I'm going to ask, in terms of professionals, people who are providing services for these children, like counseling or therapy, what concerns do they have if the children were to be returned? Understand, before I hear objection, I don't have a motion for monitor return at this time. But if the children were to be returned, what concerns do those professionals have right now that would be an impediment?
So according to Miracle's attorney, it is not recommended to participate.
Wait. I don't know if you meant attorney, but you said according to her attorney. Don't tell me anything the attorney said.
Her therapist. I'm sorry. This is from Miracle's therapist. I do not recommend that Miracle participate in family counseling with her biological parents. She is participating in individual trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. The physical abuse she and her siblings experienced at the hands, we are still addressing related trauma symptoms and processing her thoughts and feelings with physical abuse and domestic violence. Any attempt at family counseling would be harmful to this child.
Okay. And did you ask her, since she's not here, but you're relating that information, like what does she mean by domestic violence?
The children have made outcries of domestic violence in the house with their parents.
Oh, after the incident of last year?
Yes, this letter was from 9/30 of 24.
All right. So that was last year. So we are approaching a year mark. So since that year mark, has there been any incident of domestic violence?
Well, 9/30 of what year, Ms. McMullins?
24.
Okay.
And I'm going to object to speculation, whether she knows if any domestic, unless you're just asking if she has any knowledge of it.
I think that's what I asked, but I'll let the judge rule on that. I can re-ask my question.
Let me hear the question again, please.
I can ask. I say, are you aware of any allegation of domestic violence since the children were removed from the home?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So as we speak right now, you and me, does the department have any concerns regarding to ongoing domestic violence in the home of Darren Garson and Precious Garson?
Not at this time.
That's all the question I have for now.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kayla.
Ms. McMullins, you've asked for income information for Darren Gatson, correct?
Yes.
And have you asked on multiple occasions for him to produce income information to you?
Yes.
And has he produced any income information to you whatsoever?
No.
Wouldn't you think it would be a lot? Well, let me ask you this. Has he relayed to you how much financial support he has provided the elders?
No.
Okay. Would you agree with me that, well, let me ask you this. What is the extent of your knowledge of where Mr. Gatson's working? Do you know where he's working?
I do not.
Okay. That's all the questions I have this witness, Your Honor.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Crocker.
Ma'am, I was unclear on your testimony. Which children are having difficulty in the transition between the homes?
Mariana, Darren, Gracie, and Ella.
Okay, so all of them.
Yes.
So the record's clear. The transition between what two homes?
When they have to leave Miss Jones' house, they have a really hard time going back to Miss Elder's home.
Okay. Do you have a proposed solution for this?
I did send their therapist an email asking her if she can talk with the children about their feelings and also what their desires are.
How long has this difficulty with transition between the homes been occurring?
When I first got this case, I was made aware. Then I was told that Mr. Elder would bring the aunt and her children to pick up to make the transition easier for the children. So I was unaware that there was any issues. When I had heard from Miss Jones, she stated the last 3 pickups were the children were having a hard time. So it's been within this last month that it started again.
I don't want to mischaracterize your testimony, but as I understand it, there was difficulty in transition. Accommodations were made with the transition by bringing other children there, presumably to raise a comfort level. That has ceased, and now we have a new but same difficulty in transition.
Correct.
Okay. All right. With respect to the domestic violence that you had referenced, was it between the spouses or was it directed towards the children?
The domestic violence was between the parents, is what I gathered from it.
And would you qualify or characterize the allegations of abuse or neglect against the children as domestic violence?
I'm not sure. It was just a brief conversation with the older child's therapist.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bythewood.
Ma'am, are you aware that the children came into care because the oldest child almost died from injuries she sustained in her parents' home?
I didn't hear your answer, Ms. McMullins.
Yes.
And do you believe that the services that the parents have participated in have addressed those issues?
Not necessarily. There's still no responsibility taken for what happened to the child. And there's still...
In just a moment, Your Honor, I'd ask that the father and mother remain on camera while she's testifying.
All right, I see. There we go. All right, you all stay stationary and in view, please. Just like if we were in court in person, we are, after all, in court. So you may continue. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, Ms. McMullins, I interrupted you.
That's okay. There's still no responsibility taken for what happened to this child. There are still concerns during these visits as far as bonding with the children. There was a visit where one of the children had cried all the way from Newton to Jasper, stating that Daddy was mean. He still picks the children up, the younger ones, by one arm. 2 visits ago, it was the end of the visit and we were getting ready to leave, and they were getting ready to pray. One of the children came up to me and wanted me to pick her up, and he grabbed her up and by one arm, making her get back in the circle to pray. So there's concerns. The parents can tell you what they're learning, but sometimes we just don't see it.
Sometimes, or you just don't see it, period.
Very inconsistent. So yesterday, their visit went well. They interacted with all the children the whole time. But then the visit before that, they didn't interact at all. So it's very inconsistent with how they are with the children.
And this is after they've completed the parenting with Pathways or Padres?
Padres. Yes.
And are they beginning their parenting, intensive parenting with Kim Kilcrease? How many sessions have they had?
I think they've had 2 so far.
And based on their lack of demonstration of their parenting abilities, does that create an ongoing danger for the children to be returned home? Because again, we had a child who almost died in that because of that home.
Yeah, now I'm going to object to compound questions.
Sustain.
So, ongoing danger, yes. And do you believe that it would be detrimental?
Sorry. Ms. Blackwood, I'm sorry. I did not hear Ms. McMullen's answer. Ongoing danger, yes, question mark. Okay, sorry, thank you.
And at this time, the older 2 children, I represent the second to oldest child. But the oldest 2 children, including my client, are placed with paternal grandparents, and they're doing fine in that home.
Yes.
Are their grades good?
Yes, they have improved since last year when they came into care. Yes.
And specifically, the second to oldest child, my client, is she asking to not visit with her parents at this time?
And I'm sorry, Ms. McMullins. I know you answered, but I did not hear it.
Yes. I don't
Okay.
know why it keeps cutting out.
Well, it might be just on my end, but okay, thank you.
And is she asking not to visit because she's afraid of her parents? And you said yes?
Yes.
Okay, and that's being addressed in therapy, is that correct?
Yes.
And at this time, the parents are not providing any support for her. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Have you asked them why they are willing to support the younger 4, but not the older 2? Why my client doesn't get supported?
I have not. They did buy school supplies, school clothes, stuff like that. This just happened last Thursday, where I was made aware that they had been providing the elders and not the older 2.
You've not seen pictures of carloads of items that are being provided to the elders and not the grandparents?
Did see one in my email where they had sent a message, and that was just over the food. I was unaware that they were providing money as well.
So an entire freezer full of literal carloads, right?
Yes.
And when there's problems in the visits, grabbing children by one arm, is that being readdressed with them?
I've had conversations with them. I don't address it right then. I try to avoid having the conflict in front of the children. So I don't do it right then during visits.
So I'm assuming that they are not hurting the children. Otherwise, you'd address it like immediately, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. So what is the problem in grabbing a child by one arm? What is causing you concerns by the way that child is being handled?
Children's arms can pop out of socket very easy, and that's my fear, is one of their arms or elbows.
Yeah, no, I'm going to object to testifying as a medical expert, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I was just asking her what her concerns were.
Overruled. You may answer.
Just speaking from experience, my kid slipped, I picked him up and I popped his arm out of place. So I've seen it, and that's my concern, is just it actually hurting them.
And after the visit, have you addressed this with the parents so that they would know that that's a problem?
I spoke to them during my visits with them, I usually transport the children home after visits, so I'm not able to talk with them immediately.
But you've spoken to them after the visit and addressed this?
Yes,
Does it continue?
during their face-to-face.
Does it continue after you've addressed it?
Yes.
So we are not seeing a behavioral change. Is that a problem?
Yes.
Right. Initially, were you aware that there were problems with boundaries between the parents and the children?
No, I wasn't made aware of a whole lot that happened before I got the case. So,
all right. And you're not the department anymore. You're the Family Care Network. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay. So have you been able to get that information from the department when the transition happened earlier this year?
No. So when we get a case, we usually staff it, and that's where we get most of our information from. So I'm just now, there's a lot of things being put in one case from the department side. They're going in there and putting things in. So just yesterday, I was able to open the original investigation and look at the medical records from Texas Children. So there's a lot of stuff that I have not seen.
And those medical records are significant, aren't they? Regarding visitation, do you have a set location where visitation occurs?
We usually do the CASA office in Jasper.
Is that a location that you have control over?
No.
That's a CASA office, right?
Correct.
Do you have a location for visitation, the Family Care Network in Austin? In Jasper or Newton?
We don't.
And is that a problem in having visitation, is determining that location?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware that visitation had occurred in parks prior to them being limited to the office? Is that something that you would be willing to consider now that the weather's not 150?
We had a park visit yesterday. We've had, I think, 3 due to CASA, them being in court. Yesterday, for some reason, my booking never went through because we have to use a website to book for CASA, and we went to the park. During these park visits, and I will say the visits go better at the park. The children are able to run around and play. The parents are up, walking around, interacting with them, playing with them. So I haven't had any concern. They've been doing good.
Because the CASA office is small and there's not a whole lot to do. It's a CASA office, right?
Correct.
I mean, I don't want to disrespect CASA's office. It's great, but it's not really conducive to visits with 4 very active little children, is it?
Correct.
I don't think I have any further questions. I'll pass you as a witness.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hollier.
Thank you. Jesslyn, with regard to my client, we haven't gotten that psychological back.
Not yet. It was done, I think, September 3rd.
Okay. And were we, since the incident happened, since back in December of last year, my client has been counseling extensively with Garth House, correct?
Correct.
And is it still weekly visit or weekly counseling?
Yes.
And it's intensive, correct?
Correct.
All right. And I guess was the agency under the impression that a psychological had been done, but it was learned that maybe it was a psychiatric and not a psychological or something like that?
Yes, it was psychiatric appointments. And when I realized that it hadn't been, an actual assessment hadn't been done, the caregiver scheduled it and had it done.
Okay. And so, based on a lot of things, I'm very interested in the findings of that psychological. So will you send it to me as soon as you receive it?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Is my client having any mental health issues since she's been placed with the Joneses?
She had some diagnoses, but mental health, she has improved big time. I mean, each time I go see her, she just gets better and better. She looks better. She is more open. You know, she was very closed off when I went to see her the first time, and she has opened up tremendously. So she's doing well.
So this is a vibrant, beautiful, gosh, she's beautiful little girl, but guarded, but has been coming out of her shell since this intensive therapy and essentially being removed from the home, right? And we didn't hear you. I didn't hear you say yes. Okay.
Yes.
She's currently in what grade now? Okay, and how, I know that school just recently started. I mean, last year was pretty much A's and B's. Is she rocking it in school and at her education?
She's doing well. And she was cracking me up last time I went and seen them. Now they get to bring the Chromebooks home. So she was just sitting at the table with her Chromebook showing us her work. So she's very excited to be in middle school now.
Any issues or concerns or anything about peer interaction or problems at school, or is everything good?
Everything's good.
Okay. With regard to visitation with her parents, is she making a stance on what her wishes are with regard to that, even after having or continuing the counseling that she's having?
Yes, I do have that conversation with the children every time I see them, and she stands on no.
Okay. Do you believe well, strike that. So listen, at the beginning of this case, of course, the goal was family reunification, correct?
Correct.
Regardless of what happened to my child in that home, what the purpose of CPS is, and our hope is that these parents take advantage of these resources that are given to them, and they learn what they need to do better and how to be better parents, correct?
Correct.
You made that change 6 months in because these parents have not acknowledged what happened to their daughter, take no responsibility for her injuries, and are not acting as if they are mimicking what they're learning or should be learning in these services by your observations of the visits, right?
Correct.
And these are with the younger four, not My Girl or Miracle, correct?
Correct.
Did you know that one of the major concerns and was echoed through the children is inappropriate discipline of Darren and Precious Gatson to these children?
Correct.
With him having Padres class and checking that box, is it concerning to you that grabbing by the arms and doing things like that is inappropriate discipline?
Correct.
Have you seen any change in Mr. Gatson in that regard?
No.
Do you know that at the beginning of the case, Mr. Gatson had no regard for how he was disciplining his children, but that he was going to discipline them the way he wanted to, and he thought it was appropriate?
Correct.
So is part of the concern is they not maybe agreeing or admitting to doing a certain act to a child, but at least learning that you control your discipline and how you react to disciplining children, especially with so many at one time?
Yeah, now I'm going to object to compound, and also counsel is testifying.
Okay, I'll move on. Are you aware that there were numerous unexplained injuries of my client that neither parent could tell what happened to her?
Correct.
Is that also a concern of inappropriate discipline and not knowing what can occur?
Correct.
Is it a concern that during these parents are afforded visitation and yet they are ignoring their children and not taking advantage of the time they have with them by being on cell phones?
Yes.
Do you know that the allegations and concerns in the past were that these kids were the older kids were taking care of the younger kids, and the parents weren't taking care of the kids a lot of the times?
Yes.
Is that a concern that even with supervised visitation, they're not tending to the children for
Yes.
2 hours?
Yes.
Is this the lifestyle change that you're not seeing in these two parents when they're under the microscope and needing to make these changes and show everybody that they can do this?
Correct.
Okay. The mental health, clearly there's concern, their drug use isn't an issue. Concerns are mental health issues with both of these parents. Is it concerning to you that we're almost a year in and we don't know what their mental health assessments say?
Correct.
How can the agency look at and determine if they're complying if we don't even have the records and they're not really helping you to get them?
We can't. We have no idea.
Do you know if they brought their psychologicals with them to the mental health assessment so that the mental health provider could have some background and clarity on what these parents' history is?
No.
Would it be important for the mental health assessment provider to have that psychological in hand when they assess these parents?
Yes.
Okay. Especially if, like, for example, Miss Gatson says she needs pharmaceutical intervention, and we learned that they don't qualify for services because they don't meet the criteria. Does that seem to be consistent?
Objections to compound. Also, counsel is not asking a question. She's just making a statement, therefore testifying.
Overruled.
Yes.
Okay. In-person parenting with Miss Kilcrease, will eventually I assume that the parents are just having it by themselves with her, and then eventually the children will be a part of that.
Correct.
Okay. So maybe that will gain more time that the parents can have in shorter spurts of time with somebody intervening. And this is why we requested this intensive, basically family parenting, right?
No, I'm going
Correct.
to compound, and also counsel is basically testifying and also speculation. She said maybe.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, and I know that she will be hands-on with them. Hey, try this, do this. So I think it'll be very helpful for them.
And we want that. We want the parents to get the help they need, right?
Correct.
Okay. Support. My girl needs support. Do you find it odd that these parents are not stepping up when it comes to my child and giving her the support that they can afford to give her?
Yes.
Are you asking the court to make them step up and do that?
Yes.
Do you believe it's their duty to do that?
Yes.
Do you think that it's offensive that they haven't stepped up and done that yet?
Yes.
You stated that you recommend family counseling. Is that with my client, or is that at a time that my client's therapist thinks it's appropriate?
When the therapist thinks it's appropriate, the only one that they recommended for therapy was Mariana. So.
Okay. So that was your recommendation with regard to that. I understand. Okay. You talked about the outcries of domestic violence. Did we want these parents initially, or do you know if we wanted these parents to undergo BIP assessments initially?
Yes, because it was in one of the reports, I'd have to go back and read that there were concerns for domestic violence, but the parents denied domestic violence, so they took off the BIP assessment.
But they also denied abuse and neglect of their children too, didn't they?
Your Honor, objection to argumentative, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Do you think it would be helpful for these parents to have BIP assessments?
Yes.
Counseling, are they still in individual counseling with Jana Tatum?
They have completed their individual. They have started couples counseling.
Have you gotten the counseling records?
I've gotten some, but she has not sent me very many. I have to bug for them.
Can you tell her that the parties want them? I'm sure their attorney does too. The parties want those records and that we need them. That's all I have. I'll pass witness.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Mr. Burt.
Yes, Chesley, could you just, after all that, can you just reiterate what the network is requesting of the court today?
TMC, continued placement, child support, family therapy, if any, for that one child.
That'd be Mariana?
Yes. And possibly revise, if that's the word, their services for a BIP assessment.
And are we going to do everything in our power to share with their attorney any information we get from the counselors as far as reports or things of that nature, and ask that he do the same, correct?
Yes.
Because we need those psychological, or we need those mental health evaluations, correct? All right. Your Honor, I'd pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ogbaidi.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a few follow-up. Mental health assessment. When did you first ask them, or the department first ask them to complete one?
It was in their original family plan of service, and that was before I was the caseworker.
Okay. And then when did they make their first appointment?
In September of 2024.
Okay. And Ms. Hollier asked you if they brought their psychological with them. Which one? I don't know how you would know, but the question is, did you tell them to take their psychological with them to that mental health assessment?
Did not.
Okay. And did you know if the mental health assessment center that you sent them to asked them to bring the psychological with them?
Correct.
No, I'm asking, did you know?
Oh, no.
Okay, so you don't know, but yes, you're faulting them for not taking it with them, right? Because that's what your testimony implied.
I'm not faulting them because I was unaware, so I did not tell them that they needed to bring it.
Okay, so that's a non-issue on their part. You said go to mental health assessment, they went, right?
Yes.
Okay, so as we speak now, do you know if that mental health assessment center required them to bring anything, including the psychological, their psychological?
Not sure.
Okay. Do you have the ability to reach out to that mental health assessment and ask what they require of my client so that I can instruct them to give it to them?
I can, but they aren't really good about giving answers because there's not a consent signed. So they don't really want to talk about the client without a release of information signed.
Okay. Since you are asking for a BIT assessment, what evidence does the department have that this house has ever experienced family violence?
The children are making outcries of it. There was reports of it at the beginning of this case that I had read, but there's no evidence.
So I'm talking about evidence, no reports. So, for example, evidence would be police reports. I mean, you have the power to subpoena police record, right?
Yes.
Okay. So based on the evidence you have, has there been police called to the house for domestic violence?
I've never requested records for their address.
Has anybody filed for protective order for the children or for the parties regarding domestic violence in that house?
Not sure.
So other than the speculation you have, what real evidence should we use to order these people to do something that you don't have evidence of?
I'm not sure.
That's all the question I have, Yana.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kayla.
Thank you, Your Honor. The children told you they witnessed domestic violence in the home, correct?
They told their therapist.
Okay. So that's evidence of domestic violence in the home, correct?
I'm going to object to leading, and also that's a conclusory question that that's evidence of a domestic violence of the home.
Sustained.
Is it reasonable for the therapist to take the children's word that they witnessed domestic violence in the home?
I also object to that's double ESA, actually. The children said to the therapist said to her, and we are taking it as true. I mean,
Your Honor, the door's been opened.
No, the door, I mean, I'm objecting to it now based on where it's gone.
I sustain the objection. Move on.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to talk to you a little bit more about the distress that the children are having when they have to transition from the elders, from the Joneses' home back to the elders. Okay?
Right.
Can you describe for the court the type of distress that the children are exhibiting?
I've never witnessed firsthand, but I had both caregivers tell me they have crying spells. Miss Jones is having to force the children into the vehicle, and she's having to just walk away from them while they're having their fits. The screaming, the crying.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not it would be in the children's best interest for them just to all be at the Joneses?
I do.
And what is your opinion of that?
I think all the children should be together.
And based on your investigation and your interaction with these children and with the Joneses and with the elders, are the Joneses ready, willing, and able to take care of all of these children?
Yes.
Are they set up to handle 6 kids, specifically these 6 kids?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Crocker.
Ma'am, the medical records you referenced that you just were able to view recently, do any of those pertain to MG, DG, GG, or EG?
No, they do not.
Thank you. Pass witness.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bythewood.
Ms. McMullen, so there's a difference between domestic violence and the physical abuse of the children?
Yes.
Okay. And the anger management course that the parents took, do you believe that that's sufficient for them to have the skills to be able to effectively deal with children without the extremes that we had in this case?
I'm not sure because I don't know what the class consists of or what they learned from the class.
And that's 2 different things. What the class consists of is one thing. What they learned from it is something else. Are you unaware of what the class consists of? Let's start with that one.
And I'm going to object to ask as an answer because she just said she's not sure what it consisted of.
Overruled as to that specific question.
Okay.
You may.
Are you aware of what the class consists of?
No.
That's a problem that you, as somebody who is asking them to do a service, doesn't know what that class consists of. Is that true? Okay. And so is that something that you're going to find out? Because again, we need services that are narrowly tailored for the issues of this case, right?
Yes.
And if we're sitting here fussing and saying that these folks aren't learning and that they're still acting certain ways, do we need to find the right services to address that? That was a yes?
Yes.
Because I'm going to take back the because. Do we have any services that specifically address this in this area?
I'm not sure.
I need you to be sure. I need you to find this out for us, okay? Because it's not fair to the children and it's not fair to the parents, is it?
No.
Okay. And most importantly, this is in the interest of all these kiddos. It needs to be right for them, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. But as we're sitting here today, can my client go home?
No.
Does she want to go home?
No.
I'll pass you as a witness.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hoyer.
I don't have any follow-up questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone for Ms. McMullins? Okay, I have just a couple, Ms. McMullins. The goals that you announced at the top, are they the same for each of the 6 children?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I believe you indicated that DG and the youngest MG have the same counselor. You also indicated that the 2 oldest were receiving counseling from the Garth House. Do the 2 oldest have the same therapist?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Remind me of the frequency and the duration of the children's visits with the Joneses.
They go every other weekend, and then the weekend that they don't go for the weekend, they go on Thursdays.
All right. Okay. And just so I'm clear, is Mr. Gatson also meeting with Ms. Kilcrease?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Burt, you may call your next, if any.
Your Honor, I'm going to go ahead and call Ms. Kilcrease.
All right. Ms. Kilcrease, if you can start your video, unmute, and let's get you sworn in, please. Ms. Kilcrease.
Hello.
All right. Hi. If you can start your video, let me get you sworn in as well. So if you'll start your video and raise your right hand to be sworn, please.
Okay, I'm having technical issues. I might have to get off and get back on. Sorry, guys. My phone has Cheetos all over it. I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay, let me try something on my end. And
Okay.
Now, does that
Oh, no. Can you do that one more time, please? I'm sorry.
sure. Bear with me. Okay, that's you. Very good.
There
If
we
you'll-
are. Hello.
Right. Keep it up.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burt. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Ms. Kilcrease. My name is John Burt. I'm the Assistant District Attorney in Newton.
Yes,
And
sir.
I don't think I've met you. So how are you?
I'm well.
If you would, since we're being recorded, please state your full name for the record.
My name is Kim Kilcrease.
And what is it that you do, Ms. Kilcrease?
I offer intense parenting for parents that I guess need a little extra help.
All right. And if you would, since an issue has come up about knowing what these classes actually are and what they do, can you give everybody on this this Zoom call, a brief summary of what this class is supposed to do for these parents?
Yes, sir. So we do 10 sessions. And I kind of gear my program toward what the parents are needing. In this specific case, we're going to really focus on positive discipline. We're going to focus on just parenting in general. With 6 kids in the home, there's a lot going on. And so I feel like I've met with them twice, and I feel like that they both could benefit from positive discipline from the initial case here, that why the kids are in care. And so we'll build on that each week. We will have, they have homework. We go over different strategies on how they can deal with certain things, what they can do in the visits. One of my notes that I wrote down was what they need to be doing while they're in visits with their children, whether it be at the park or whether it be in a small CPS office or whatever. And then we'll, at the last, usually it's the last 4, we'll bring the kids in, and I'll really basically just watch the visit, and then I will coach them either during the visit, depending on what the behaviors are and the actions, or I can coach them after the fact.
All right, thank you. So that you've had 2 visits with them thus far, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Our initial one was just really to get the information and kind of see where the parents were and what their needs were. This program can go over budgeting and things like that. Sounds like to me that, they manage their money pretty well from what I gather, and they can provide for their children just by the initial that I've taken in. And then we had our first visit. They have homework every night or every week. They journal in a journal about themselves, about their family, and about their children in each specific child. And there's other tasks that go along with that during their homework time.
And after the visits, is there something that they learn during those visits that they can demonstrate in their visits with their children?
Gosh, I sure hope so. I hope I do a good job that they can demonstrate it.
And it should be observable if someone is watching.
Agreed.
Okay, that's all the questions that I have for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Urbadi.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. K. Grace, thank you for what you do. Just wanted to, what is the title, your job title?
What is my job title?
Yeah.
For this specific case, I'm just going to be parenting. I am licensed through the state of Texas, through Austin, for positive parenting.
Okay. So I just want to know, so that will help me remember you. So is it like positive parenting?
I promise you'll never forget me. Yes, it is positive parenting.
Okay. And when did you first meet with my client, which is Miss Garson and Mr. Garson?
Yes, we met. Our initial visit was 2 Sundays ago. We met then, and then we had our first class on Monday.
Okay.
And I work with them on their schedule.
Okay.
Because he works.
Thank you so much for being flexible. So you said there will be 10 classes. So you said you met with them on Monday. That's all so far?
Yes.
Okay. So does that count as 1?
That does count as 1.
So there's 9 more to go.
Correct.
Okay. I believe this judge has set a trial for around June of next year. So do you think you can get this remaining 9 done as soon as possible?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
They should be finished, I suspect, by the first of the year.
Okay. Just for my curiosity, so far, 1 counts. So far, any concerns that you have for the 1 visit you've had with them?
Do I have any concerns? Not at this time.
Okay. All right. And what do you hope? Expectations for them? I guess your first visit, maybe you addressed it. So let's just say week 11, meaning after they've completed their 10. What do you hope they would take away from it?
I hope that they can demonstrate some strategies to help them parent their children in a positive environment, and also with positive discipline.
That's all the questions I have. I'm sorry, I lied to you. Just
Okay.
a few more. So when is the next visit?
Next Monday.
Okay. And then do I have, if I were to rely that it's going to be ongoing every Monday, would that be accurate or not?
Yes, as
Aside
long
from-
as his schedule permits.
Okay. And also, Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays, except for
Correct.
those. Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kayla.
No questions of this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Drucker.
No questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bythewood.
Ms. Gilchrist, where do you get the background information on these cases from?
Actually, on this case, the mom sent me her initial CPS not investigation, but the initial placement paperwork, or the investigation. I guess it would be their investigation. And I got the information from the parents. That's why I asked to be a part of this Zoom, so I can kind of get their perspective of everyone else. I'm not saying the Gatsons aren't honest, but I like to know all the details so that I can help the parents in their parenting and in their in this case, she said that they were removed for abuse, and so I wanted to see what everyone else's thoughts were. I only got the parent side at this point, so I want to make sure that I have the correct information so I can help the parents.
Would it be helpful if everyone would send you a little information or everybody's perspective or position in this case?
Sure.
Okay. And also especially for the benefit of their attorney, you come into this with more experience than just being a teacher. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What other experience do you have regarding the care for children and parents?
I was a foster parent for 5 years. I also was trained by CPS to do the initial foster parent training. So I trained other foster parents to be a foster parent. I'm a mother of now 6 children. I have a little experience with children, I assume.
And as your experience with a foster parent, were you very hands-on with the parents in assisting children to go home?
Yes. My goal was always to send a child home as best as we could, as long as, they were safe and not being neglected or abused.
All right. So is not just trying to help these parents with their parenting skills, also assist them in a CPS case, which is kind of a crazy place to be.
Correct.
Thank you, Ms. Gilchrist. I have no further questions.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Gilchrist, did you, on your first meeting of the Gatsons, talk to them generally about how they discipline their children, what they believe is appropriate discipline, what was going on discipline-wise at the time of the removal?
The initial, we really just kind of spoke, and I kind of got some background information on our initial. The very first meeting, which was this past Monday, one of their homework thing was to write in their journal, and we did. I asked both parents why the children were removed. That was in the initial, and it was for abuse. And I asked both parents, did they abuse their children? And their answer were no. And so we just are kind of gonna build on that at this point.
Okay. When Ms. Bythewood asked you if it would be helpful to have some information during the investigation, these parents were asked a lot of questions about how their family dynamics are and how they discipline their children. Would you really be interested in seeing what their responses were to be able to develop and help them with a strategy to learn from maybe past mistakes or inaccurate beliefs in discipline?
Yes.
Okay. Past witness.
All right. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Burt.
No further questions, Your Honor, and no other witnesses.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from anyone for Ms. Gilcrease?
Maybe just more like information. I mean, since I think someone asked a question about if we can send out a little thing, but I don't have an email. If that's maybe someone can help with that.
I can give you my email.
Okay. I mean, if you don't mind, the judge said this is being broadcast live on YouTube, so I don't want.
Oh, I don't care.
Okay.
You can do that, or you can type it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to him because I can't type it in the chats because I don't know how.
At gmail.com, right?
Nope. Yahoo.
Yahoo. Okay. I didn't know people still have Yahoo. Thank you.
I'm old, dude.
That's all. Thank you, Yana. That's all.
All right. Well, it's not AOL.
Yeah, true.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Agbaidi, any witnesses today?
No, Yana, I don't have any witnesses, but I do have a request to make of the court, maybe towards the end.
All right. Very good. Mr. Kayla, any witnesses? Ms. Gilcrease, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Any witnesses, Mr. Kayla?
Yes, Your Honor. I would call Darren Gatson.
All right, Mr. Gatson, if you will unmute your device, raise your right hand to be sworn, please. All right, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kayla, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gatson, where do you work?
West Rock,
What is your position?
operator,
What do you operate?
paper machine.
How long have
Sorry,
you...
Mr. Kayla. Mr. Kayla, I did not get the word before machine.
He said paper machine.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
How long have you been in that position at West Rock?
August of 2023.
So from August of 2023 to now, you've had the same position. Which machine do you operate?
Paper machine number 4.
Number 4. Okay, that's what I was getting at. I'm sorry. I could have asked that question better. But from August 23rd to now, you've been operating paper machine number 4 at West Rock, correct?
I'm sorry, of 2022.
August of 22 to now, you have been operating paper machine number 4 at West Rock.
Yes.
Okay. How are you compensated? Are you on salary or are you paid by the hour?
I pay by the hour.
And what is your hourly rate?
I don't know exactly off the top of my head. I have to look at my email.
Okay. Are you paid with a paper check or is it directly deposited into your account?
It's directly deposited into my account.
Okay. And which bank account is that check directly deposited into?
My checking account.
Yes, sir. Which bank is that at?
Do good.
And what is the name on that account?
My full name, Darren Latrell Gatson.
Is that account only in your name or is Precious on that account as well?
She will be soon, but she's not at the moment.
Okay, so as we sit here today, that the account where your paycheck is deposited into at Do Good Federal Credit Union is your checking account that's in your name solely.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any other accounts at Do Good Federal Credit Union?
I have a savings account along with my checking account.
Okay. Does a portion of your check or your direct deposit automatically go into your savings account every pay period?
No.
Okay. Did you file taxes in 2023?
Yes.
do you have a copy of your tax return from 2023 that you could make available to your attorney so that he could get it to me?
Yes.
Do you know how much income you claimed on your taxes for 2023?
No.
What is your work schedule?
I'm on a DuPont work schedule. It's basically
I'm familiar
rotating
with
shit.
schedule. That's what I was looking for. So that is very helpful. I can figure it out from there. We would be another hour and a half trying to explain the DuPont schedule to the court and everybody else. It's a very complicated schedule. But you can't tell the court what your hourly rate is, correct?
I don't know off the top of my head. No.
Okay. What was your position before you were an operator on paper machine number 4?
General service.
Okay. So when you the operator pays better than general service, does it not?
Yes.
Do you know how much better?
I don't remember exactly what it was.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have no objection for him to refresh his recollection by looking at a pay stub right now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right, and I believe he referenced an email earlier that might contain that hourly rate. So, Mr. Gatson, take this time, retrieve paycheck stub and/or that email to get us the hourly rate. Take a moment right now.
It's $33.80.
$33.80 per hour.
Yes.
The pay stub that you're looking at right now is dated. What is the date on that pay stub?
The advice date is 9/26/2024.
9/26 of 2024. And on that pay stub, the one that you're looking at right now, that's dated 9/26 of 2024, how many hours did you work during that pay period?
108 hours.
108 hours?
Yes.
And you're paid every 2 weeks?
Yes.
Can you take a photograph of that pay stub and send it to your lawyer after this hearing so that your lawyer will have a picture of that entire piece of paper, the pay stub dated 9/26/24?
Yes, my name is not on it.
Okay. But that is your pay stub. You're testifying to that in open court today.
Yes.
Okay. And you're telling us that your pay stub dated 9/26/24 shows that you worked 108 hours for that 2-week period, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And your hourly rate is $33.80 per hour, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So can you and will you take a photograph of that piece of paper and send it to your lawyer today?
Yes.
Thank you. Does your wife work?
No.
Has she ever worked?
She did in the past.
How much financial support have you provided to the elders that have your 4 youngest children since this case began?
I don't know exactly what my dad was agreeing to with Mr. Elder, but that was between them two. I don't know the exact amounts or what they detailed with that. But I provided food and things like that.
You provided food?
It's food, clothes, and shoes, and things like that.
Clothing? What else?
My deep freezer.
Freezer?
Diapers, wipes, anything they ask for.
As far as monetary support, how much monetary support, not support in kind, not the stuff that we've talked about, but as far as monetary support, how much money have you given the elders?
I don't know exactly the amount. I guess I'll have to double check.
Okay. When is the last time you gave money to the elders?
Last week.
Okay. How much did you give them last week?
$400.
Okay. But before that, when was the last time that you had given them any money?
Bi-weekly before that.
Okay. And how much did you give them on that occasion? If you can recall.
I don't know. It was probably around the same amount. I have to double check.
Okay. So you've been giving them about $400 every other week.
Yes, since I found out that he needed help during the court session.
Okay. So basically, you've been giving the elders $800 a month in addition to in-kind support, correct?
I'm not exactly for sure what in-kind support means.
The food, the freezer, the clothing, the shoes, the diaper, the wipes, all of that stuff.
Yes.
You've been providing food for those children, clothing for those children, necessities for those children, and on top of that, you've been paying the elders $800 a month, correct?
Yes.
And you don't know how much money your father has paid to the elders. Is that correct?
I don't think he's no longer sending them money since I started. Since the court hearing, I found out that Mr. Elder needed some money.
Well, you don't think, or has he stopped sending them money?
I haven't had that conversation to know.
Okay. What is your father's name?
Tommy Gatson.
And when did he start sending money to the elders?
From my understanding, the first week that the younger 4 were sent to the elders. But I haven't had that conversation to know exactly the details of those conversations. That would have to be a conversation that Tommy Gasson or Lana Elder had to tell you.
Do you know how much money Tommy Gatson has given the elders since Tommy Gatson started giving money to the elders?
No.
Okay. How much money have you given to the Gatsons since they have been taken, to Melissa Jones since they have been taking care of your oldest two children?
She texted my wife back in January and told us to only deal with the divorce.
I'm going to object. Okay. I'm not asking what Miss Jones may have said to your wife in a text message. My question was, how much money have you provided Mrs. Jones since they started taking care of your oldest two children?
I provided food when I was allowed to.
My question
as far as
was,
financial,
how much
I have
money?
not sent any financial.
Okay, so no money. No money to Melissa Jones, correct?
Question to asked and answered.
Overruled. Answer the question, Mr. Gatson, please. Mr. Gatson, answer the question, please. Do you need to hear it again?
Yes. What question? Are you saying how much money again?
Yeah, the question was, you have sent no money to Miss Jones since she started taking care of your oldest two children, correct?
Correct.
Okay. As far as what we talked about earlier, in-kind support, as far as clothes, shoes, basic necessities, have you provided any of that to Miss Jones to help support your oldest two children?
Yes, I did provide clothes, shoes, and school uniforms. I provided food when I was allowed to before I was cut off by her in January. And I don't remember all the details because, it's been a 9-month process. So I don't remember what all I've seen.
When is the last time you bought clothes and had clothes delivered to the Joneses for your oldest two children?
And I think it was the uniforms for school.
When was that?
August.
And how many uniforms did you purchase?
5 uniforms apiece. It may be more. I can't remember. This is what I think. I'm not for sure. I think it was more.
Okay. Other than the school uniforms this August, have you provided any other clothes to Miss Jones?
Yes.
Okay. When and what?
It was in June or July. It was outfits that me and my wife got.
How many outfits?
I don't remember all the details of exactly how many outfits I got.
Okay. Other than the outfits in June or July and the 5 school uniforms apiece in August of 24 of this year, what other items have you provided to help support your oldest two daughters?
It was more than 5 uniforms now that I think about it. And I've sent shoes multiple times. And
Okay.
I sent backpacks. I sent all the school supplies.
When's the last time you sent shoes?
I sent some shoes for Miracle birthday, and it was the sizes that I was told they wear, but I never see my kids with their shoes on. So I don't know if they even wear them.
So you gave Miracle a pair of shoes for her birthday, and you're counting that as support, right?
It was 2 or 3 pairs of shoes. You asked the last time I sent shoes. That's the last time that I sent shoes besides school shopping that I remember.
Okay. Clothes, shoes, what else?
I sent medicine and food, like I said, in January. I have the receipt for that. I sent that through my auntie at the time before they cut me off. I sent that to Jeremy Foster and Raymond Davis and Michelle Gilder.
Okay. Other than what we've talked about, have you provided any other support, either goods or, well, we've already established that you've sent them no money. So, other than the stuff we've just talked about, have you sent them any other goods to help care for your children?
No, no one will respond to me about my oldest two kids. I've asked to try to do it, but no one responds to me.
Okay. Why is it that you've been paying the elders $800 a month, and your dad was paying the elders some amount of money? We don't know how much, basically since day one of this removal, and you have provided no financial support for your older two children whatsoever.
I'll repeat myself again. I've tried. I reached out. I tried to talk to caseworkers. I can't even get a picture of my oldest two kids. So as far as me trying to send financial documents or anything to support my kids, I haven't been allowed to support them in any form or fashion. I've asked recently, and I got that in text message, that I've tried to reach out to see if they need anything. Nobody's let me talk to my kids, support them or anything.
Did you? So are you taking the position that since you don't get to communicate with those kids that you shouldn't have to support them?
That is incorrect.
Okay.
I've tried to reach out to, excuse me. I reached out to caseworkers multiple times, from present and to past caseworkers. I've tried to support my kids like I did the last 10 years. My kids had never went without anything. If my kids need something right now, I would send it to them. Financially, it doesn't matter if it's clothes, financially, food. I'm not objecting to child support or anything. I just want my kids taken care of. And I've tried to take care of my kids like I always have.
If you're not objecting to the child support, why didn't you provide the pay stubs to your lawyer prior to this hearing so we could have calculated what the proper child support would have been?
Are you saying the prison lawyer or?
Yes, I mean you were present at the last hearing when this issue was discussed, and you were told to get a pay stub to your lawyer so that we could sit down and try to work this out and not waste the court's time.
I mean, we could have been established something.
You're the one
my check stub,
Mr. Gatson.
Sir, are you going to let me talk? I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to talk over you.
You do agree that you're the one that has the information, right?
My name is not on the check stub, and I haven't sent it yet.
Why haven't you provided the information to your lawyer so that it could be circulated to the other lawyers so we could have avoided all of this today?
Avoid all of what? Are you talking about child support?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll pass the witness.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Crocker.
No questions.
Thank you, Ms. Bythewood.
No questions.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Hollier.
I'm not going to have any questions today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Burt.
No questions, Your Honor.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Agbaidi.
Just a few. Has Mr. Gassin, has anyone, this court or even CPS, directed you to make a payment to any of the parties associated with this case?
No.
And if you are ordered to provide support for these children in any capacity, are you able to do that?
Yes.
And do you believe you supporting your children would be in their best interest?
Yes.
And you're ready to do whatever is in your children's best interest?
Yes.
That's all the question I have for this witness.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from anyone for Mr. Gatson? All right, thank you. Any other witnesses, Mr. Kayla? Mr. Gatson, you may go back to mute, please.
No, Your Honor, not at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Crocker, any witnesses?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Blythewood?
Ms. Mitchell with CASA?
All right, Ms. Mitchell, if you will unmute your device, raise your right hand to be sworn, please, ma'am. All right, do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes?
I do.
All right, thank you. You may proceed.
Would you please state your name and your relationship to the children?
Shakitha Mitchell, the CASA Advocate Supervisor.
And are you the advocate or the supervisor?
The supervisor.
Who is our advocate?
Faith North.
All right. And is she the person that I need to be asking questions to, or you?
Depends on what questions you have. I see some of the office visits, but Faith actually goes out and visits with the children and Miss Jones and the elders.
All right. Well, then let me ask you about the visits. How are those going?
Sometimes it's okay, and sometimes I think it could be better.
All right. Let's define it could be better. What does it could be better mean?
More interaction between the children and the parents. We have a lot to do in the office now. The front space that we had, we tried to accommodate the visits that were taking place for them, added new toys, new activities, just something for just trying to make it nice for the parents and the kids when they come.
All right. So you've turned your front pretty much into an area for visitation for the children?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And the interaction that you're seeing with the parents, how could it be more? What is?
Probably, I think it would be a good idea for them to leave the phones out of the visit. And I think that will probably require them to pay more attention to the kids and I don't know if they're afraid to say something to the kids, but there's really no redirection. Most of the time, there's no redirection if the kids are doing something.
And how long have you been witnessing these visits?
It's been, what is this? It's been a few months now.
Has there been any improvement from the first time you started witnessing the visits?
Not much.
Is that concerning to you?
It is. It is concerning because I mean, I know that they've taken parenting classes, but at the same time, they're being supervised. And some people, won't do too much because they know that they're being watched. So that could be a part of it too. They could be afraid to say anything to the children because of that.
Understand, but when you're talking about cell phones being a problem, how are the cell phones a problem?
If they give a phone to one of the children, then the child will be on the phone the whole 2 hours if they don't take it.
And the 4 children that they visit with, what are the age ranges, if you know?
1 to, let's see, the oldest one. One, 3, 4, and 6.
Is it appropriate to give a 6-year-old a cell phone during the only 2 hours that you have with them during the week?
No, ma'am.
Same with the others?
Same with the others. It's not.
and have the parents been told this, to your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am, they have. The caseworker we had discussed it before, and she said, I think their therapist had mentioned it.
Right. And has that behavior changed?
No.
Is there anything else that has concerned you regarding the visits in the office?
No, just the redirection and just the behavior of the children. That's about it.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I'm going to pass you as a witness.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Ms. Mitchell, if you will, please give me a sense of the time frame of the visits you observed and also the number.
So,
and if you need to look at something to refresh your memory, you may. Just
in June, there was a family visit here in June. I think that's when we started.
All right, and how many have you observed?
Let's see. I would say at least 5. I know more than 5.
All right, and the last one being when?
Let's see, they had one yesterday. Yesterday, I only saw 2 of the kids briefly when they came in, and the visit was changed to a park visit. Last week, let me pull up my calendar.
All right, so last week we'll do for now. What is CASA's recommendation as to placement of the children?
I'm going to say that I would recommend that the children are placed together with Miss Jones.
Tell me why.
Because of things that have been said, and I wasn't there, so this is hearsay, but things that have been said coming from the children, speaking about the dad being mean, or the fact that the kids don't want to return back to the elders.
Right.
And that's concerning.
All right. Okay. Let me thank you. Let me go to Ms. Hollier.
And can I say one more thing?
You may. Question.
And it's not to say that they are necessarily being mistreated by the elders, but I'm pretty sure they like being with their siblings too. So.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Hollier.
And I'll just follow up on that, Ms. Mitchell. This is a very bonded group of siblings, is it not? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to make sure I got on the record. And they're all very close in age, and they tend to be just a tight-knit group, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been able to observe any time with the children, all the children together with the Joneses?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll pass witness.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Burt.
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Agbaidi.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a few. Ms. Mitchell, how are you today? I think you're muted, Ms. Mitchell.
I'm good.
Okay. Just following up on what Ms. Hollier asked, right? So that this is a very tight-knit, closely bonded children, right?
Right.
And you heard, I believe you were here in the beginning when there was testimony regarding when they were leaving and dad was trying to pray and then there was some tugging. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes.
Okay. If the children are who they are, like unified, and dad is trying to pray for them, is there a prayer with a parent praying for their children?
Could you repeat that again?
Is there a problem with a parent trying to pray for their children?
Do I have a problem with a parent
No.
trying to pray for their
Not
children?
you, not you.
Oh.
And I can ask you because you're not a party to the lawsuit. I'm just saying generally, is there a problem for any parent to pray for their children?
No.
No.
Shouldn't be.
Exactly. Also, do parents, based on your testimony, you said something about redirection and all those things. Right? That's been a problem right now. You would like my clients to redirect their children more, right?
Yes.
And also you testify that you understand that the nature, someone being supervised and all that, some parent will just kind of shy away, right?
All right.
But in this instance of the prayer, he was actually trying to redirect that child. Let's pray, right?
Okay. I wasn't outside when that happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was redirection.
Okay. But based on what you heard today, a child was trying to walk away, dad wanted something different. So what would you classify that as?
I think I would have to see it.
Okay. But you heard the testimony.
I did hear the testimony.
And then you said you also have concerns about redirection. But you testify that there's nothing wrong with a parent praying for their child. So
it's nothing wrong with a parent praying for their child, but there is something wrong if they're always grabbing them by one arm.
Okay. Well, you are asking.
Because you're leaving out that part.
I'm the one asking the question, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm clarifying.
Okay,
so
that's
I can answer you.
I didn't ask you. That's the way it works. So, are you done making your point?
Do you have a clear answer?
And witness, do not argue with one another.
Okay.
Do not.
Thank you, Yana. I'm only asking simple questions. She took me where I don't want to. Okay. Did you see him tug or pull on this child's arm on that day? Did you see them?
I was not outside.
Okay, cool. Then don't take me there. I'm just asking general questions, ma'am. So if this dad was trying to pray for his child and the child was trying to walk away, wasn't that him trying to redirect the child?
I'm going to object to speculation if she didn't see it.
Okay, but she testified to it, Your Honor. She testified to the concern she had regarding that.
Sustained.
Okay.
Next.
All right. So how often have you interacted with Miss Precious Gasson and Mr. Darren Gasson?
I see them whenever they come in the office.
Do you talk to them?
I speak to them. Sometimes we may have a conversation, but I don't talk to them the whole 2 hours.
Okay. And based on your conversation in whatever minutes you have talking to them, personally, just talking to them, what concerns do you have about them personally?
What was the last thing you said?
What concerns do you have about them personally, based on just seeing them?
Any concerns that I have are about the children.
Okay. Just talking about personal. We're talking about the children. So Mr. Gasson is right there. And Miss Precious Gasson is right there. You sued them at some point. Just based on you talking to them, do you have a problem with how they communicate, how they come off personally?
No.
Okay. And other than redirecting their children, when you did observe them come to your facility, other than they bringing a phone, what other concerns do you have as an advocate regarding their parenting ability?
Regarding what?
Okay. What other concern do you have regarding their ability to parent their children?
I feel like they need to be able to redirect them, and they also need to be able to take, excuse me?
Objection to non-responsive, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Your Honor, my question was specific. I said, other than the redirection, other than they bring in the cell phone, right? So what other concerns do you have?
I was answering that. That's not a yes or no question.
Okay. I said, what other concerns? Not what I already said, other than. So apart from the cell phone, apart from the redirection, what other concerns do you have regarding their ability to parent these children?
Accountability
Okay. For what?
for things that have happened with the children in the past.
What report did
Whatever cause it was for them to be removed.
What report did you read to form that opinion that they are not being accountable?
I've seen the reports of and the medical reports of when the case first opened, or
So
when the kids were first removed.
So you saw a medical report. I just want to make sure I'm getting this straight. Which medical report did you see?
From the children, the two older girls.
Okay. Who gave you that medical report?
It's in my documents in Optima.
I'm asking. I don't know the functions of CASA, but these parents do have HIPAA rights. So I'm asking you, who gave you the medical report? Did this judge order you to have the report, or did you get a report from somewhere?
That report was already here when I got to this job.
Okay. And then you picked up the report and you actually read it.
I have opened every case that I have.
Okay. Without a court order.
Your Honor, I would object. It seems like he's trying to intimidate her by
I'm not
threatening
intimidated.
with,
Yeah.
I'm just asking questions.
And I believe that it is in the court
Oh,
order, in the
it is.
petition, that she's got the ability to look at records as a guardian ad litem.
That is statutory. She is statutorily obliged to do that.
All right, that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, we are all agents. We all have duties before the statute. So I just want to make sure. So so the judge gave you the power, based on his statement, that you have the power to read a medical report.
No, it was the legislature.
Yes, I know. I mean, we are all under obligation to make sure that we protect people's HIPAA rights. It's a federal issue. So,
Sir, do you know what CASA is for?
Ms. Mitchell, wait for the question, please.
Okay. I'm sorry.
all right. That's all the question I have for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kayla, any questions for Ms. Mitchell?
Just very, very briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Mitchell, are you familiar enough with these children to have an opinion as to whether or not it would be in their best interest to all be in the house with the Joneses?
I would like to say yes.
Okay, so you feel like you're familiar enough to have an opinion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what would that opinion be?
Was that all of the children are together?
Okay, and that would be at the Joneses?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you, Mr. Crocker.
Ma'am, when did CASA develop the opinion that all the children should be at the Jones household?
When it became apparent that they were struggling to go back to the elders, and the elders were complaining to my advocate about having the children.
So are the elders in opposition to the children going to the Jones?
I don't know. You have to ask the elders that.
I understand. You weren't relayed that information.
Excuse me?
That's not information that was relayed to you, correct?
No, my advocate.
I'll pass the witness. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bytewood.
Ms. Mitchell, besides reading reports, have you been able to look at different videos in this case?
No, ma'am.
Right. Then I don't have any further questions.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hoyer.
No question.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Byrd.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Any other questions from anyone for Ms. Mitchell? All right. Thank you. Let me hear from Ms. Nava, Ms. North. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's see. Who, remind me, who called Ms. Mitchell? Was that you, Ms. Bytewood? All right. So then, Mr. Crocker, did you rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bytewood, you may proceed, and I'll give you all the heads up. I intend on setting a hearing in regard to placement, any change of placement, one day next week. So we might be able to kind of streamline some things for the balance of today.
Thank you, Your Honor. You just did. Ms. North, I saw Nava and I'm so sorry about that. Would you please state your name and your relationship to the children?
Faith Nava North, and I am the CASA advocate.
And you've been on CASA since March, haven't you?
Yes.
Okay. And have you been able to visit the kiddos in their homes?
Yes, ma'am.
And right now, we're at a permanency hearing. So one of the things that we got to talk about is whether or not these kids need to go home to the parents. Do you believe that there is a continuing danger if the children are returned home to their parents?
I believe that there is still training that needs to be done, especially with the inappropriate disciplining that has not been addressed. Those have been concerns that I've heard throughout the cases that we've been on here. So that is a concern. Yes, ma'am.
Right. Because I mean, this was inappropriate discipline case that nearly resulted in the death of a child. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so at this time, you don't believe the parents have the tools that they need in order to adequately parent the children?
They are still going through training. So they still need this training in order for anything to be decided.
And do you believe that this is an important thing for the parents to hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it concerning to you that they're not paying attention?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection to mischaracterization of the parent behavior. They hear and they're listening. That's just informatory.
I just saw a mom talking to somebody else off camera, so I'll draw the question.
Right.
Do you want these parents to be successful?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And the questions that I'm asking, the answers that you're giving, are these designed for these parents to hear what's going on, take some accountability, and be able to get their kids back?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's the ultimate goal, no matter what CPS's goal of termination or whatever. As ad litems, we want this family to be whole again, don't we?
Yes, ma'am.
But it takes more than what we're being given, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you frustrated right now?
I'm very sad for the parents and for the children.
What's CASA's recommendations to the court? My passion's not working right now.
I think we're still on the same page. There still needs to be work to be done with the parents. There's still stuff that needs to be done for the children. As you can see, there are concerns with the children. So this cannot be decided today.
All right. And do you believe that the parents should support the children in accordance with the guidelines?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
And if the father is making a net of $6,244.04, do you believe that 40% of that needs to go to the children, resulting in $416.27 per child?
I don't know what the state obligation is, but do I believe that he needs to be paying his fair share? Absolutely.
If that's what the math tells us, do you believe that's what the order should be?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll pass you as a witness.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hollier.
Thank you. So I have, I guess, a concern. You said that you're not ready to make a decision because you're hoping these parents have additional, parenting and redirection for inappropriate discipline and so forth. Did it concern you when Ms. Kilcrease sat down and met with the parents that when they were asked about the abuse in the home, they both denied it? Did that concern you?
It did concern me. That hasn't been, let me think of how I want to say this. Sorry. It's concerning, very concerning. And that's why we're here today, correct? To determine what's going to happen.
Sure. And the other reason we're here today is this gives the parents a roadmap in order to basically tend their own fate on how this case goes. And that's why I like to be direct with parents so that we're not hiding the ball. So is it more than just learning resources? Is it more about accountability and responsibility before you can even enter into change?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what it is.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Burt.
No questions, Your Honor.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Ogbadi.
Yes, just a few. Miss Navarre. I think they also said Miss North, so I think I'm.
Yes.
So, but I'm going by what's on your screen, Navarre.
Okay.
Thanks for the work that you do. But just like Ms. Hollier said, I'm trying to give my children, they're not my children, my clients, a roadmap. So you said something about inappropriate discipline. And you're not the only one who have said it today, but I had not gotten a definition. I'm not asking for a definition, but can you just explain what your idea, at least in regards to this case, what is inappropriate discipline?
The court had ordered that, and so I'm going to stick with what the court has decided, and I'm not going to give my opinion because it's what the court has ordered.
No, I'm not asking you because
you're asking me personally, sir.
Okay, we're not arguing.
Correct.
Said there is a problem with inappropriate discipline. I'm asking you, what is that, so that these parents know what you're talking about?
And I just answered you, sir.
You did not. Okay. What does inappropriate parenting mean to you personally?
Any inappropriate discipline, as far as any discipline, as far as injury to a child, abuse, neglect, all of that is in there, sir.
Okay. You don't need to tell me what's in there. So, since this judge ordered no inappropriate discipline, what inappropriate discipline have you observed my client committed to these children since this case started?
So that is why they're going through classes to verify, and we are observing, correct, sir?
Okay. I'm asking you. That's not, sorry.
I know, I'm giving you the information.
I said, what inappropriate discipline have you observed since this case started?
My focus is the child. And also, I have been at I've been at a CASA whenever the parents were with the children. So I have been at one of those, a couple of them, excuse me, more than one, of their visitations. And I have seen where the father has pulled a child, or we have asked several times. And when I say we, I mean Jesselyn has asked, other CASA has asked, please get your kids down off of the toys. Please have them pick things up. These are things that we are telling them, and they are not doing as far as on their own, correct? And so we've also had to have them stop bringing food because of the mess. It gets so out of control. So these have been situations that they have talked to the Gatsons about.
So just a recap.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the children to pick up the toys. Stop bringing food. No phones. But those are kind of the what you are calling inappropriate discipline that you have.
I'm sorry. Say it one more time to me.
Sorry, my phone. Okay, sorry, it went away. So I'm just saying that's what I was trying to understand, so that they understand what your concerns are. So no, don't bring food. Tell your children to pick up the toys. Don't tug on their arm so they don't get pulled. Right? Those three.
I think you took me out of context, because I had told you that this was been addressed to the parents when the kids are climbing on large toys, like there's a little grocery cart thing there, and the 1-year-old is climbing on top and could fall. And we have addressed to them that, hey, please have your child come down. And they're having to say it over and over again. Like, this is something that you as a parent would know that they could fall and they could hurt themselves.
Okay. So have the children fallen and hurt themselves?
I have not observed them falling and hurting themselves.
So
because
parents
and CPS has been there to help guide them.
Okay, because that's exactly what the supervision is, right? To make sure that the children don't hurt themselves, right?
Correct.
Okay, so if these parents have not had access to these children, I mean, I don't know when the other ones were removed. At least one of them has not had access to these children since we are approaching a year now, right? This is October, right? So at least 10 months. So if the children are learning to climb, within the 2 hours the parents are there, how is that the parents' problem?
How is it the parents' problem? Because they're supposed to be instructing the children while they're there, sir.
Okay. All right. That's all the question I had.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kayla.
Judge, in light of your recent announcement, I don't have any questions of this witness today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Crocker.
Same announcement, Your Honor. No questions.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Whitewood, and then Ms. Hollier.
I just don't have any questions. Any more questions?
All right. Ms. Novin.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other witnesses, Ms. Whitewood or Ms. Hollier?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right. At this time, based on the evidence, the best interests of the children, the safety of the children, the court continues the Texas Family Care Network as the temporary managing conservator, approves and continues the children's respective placements today. The court further finds that there would be a continuing danger, and it would be contrary to all of the children's welfare, well-being to be placed back with a parent or the parents today.